Hi guys, welcome back to the Midheaven podcast. My name is Candice Marie.
And I'm the Peace Dealer. And today we have a super special episode about one of my, I don't want to say favorite topics, but most intriguing, relevant, and supernatural topics, the tarot. Something very misunderstood, but also very glamorized, but rarely truly practiced by professionals like this individual you see here.
You too. I've seen your daily posts.
Thank you. I'll be all right sometimes.
I mean, I'm digging the moon posts for sure. Like the sun and moon combinations that you're doing, those always make me LOL. Right. But I remember you're like seeing your little desk with all your crystals and like all of your cards and everything. I just recently reorganized all of mine, by the way. It was very relaxing after it took me 2 months to get my IKEA shelf from IKEA, and I had to pull a Karen and literally had to go on Twitter to yell and tweet at IKEA, and I literally said them. I'm sure we'll get the tweet up somehow, but I was like, yo, IKEA, what's going on? Where's my bookshelf? Like, I've been on the phone waiting for a refund. Your refund is late. Just trying to get this refund after 2+ months of not getting my shipment so I can then go to your store and go and buy the same bookcase because I'm obsessed with it. Why is it taking so long to get a refund and make shelves? Are you processing refunds and having the shelves made by dwarfs? I think that's literally what I said. Or no, what did I say? It wasn't dwarfs. I said, what did I say? Shit. Damn it. Yeah, it was really good. It was definitely a Karen because it was enough for like a lot of people to actually go and send me my own. Okay, here we go. Where is it? It's I'm proud, but I'm not proud. See, I don't even know how to use Twitter. I don't even really use Twitter. How do I? Where's that?
I don't use Twitter enough. I definitely want to get more out of it. I wish you could see her going through Twitter right now.
Okay, here we go. Okay.
Boo.
Here, you're gonna laugh. Did I delete it? I don't think I deleted it.
There we go.
Here we go. Okay, here we go. Dear IKEA. At IKEA Help and IKEA USA, I've waited 3 months for a bookshelf delivery, which was never fulfilled. Now I'm placing my 6th phone call to your customer service to get a refund that was due over 3 weeks ago. This is insanity. Our elves processing refunds and making furniture. Elves. It was it was a Swedish joke.
We have the secret elves. Damn it. That was supposed to be a secret.
So I got the bookshelf and I have all these like drawers and everything that are put in it. So finally I have
Sweatshop Elves.
Been able to organize all of my tarot decks and all of my...
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, I finally got it. Yeah, 3 months later, I took my money back there and bought the same shelf because I measured and everything and whatever. It was just perfect. So all of like my apothecary jars are all labeled. All of my decks, because I have tons of decks, are now like organized and they're in their little pristine boxes. So they're going to be protected forever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you see my tarot reading for January 6th?
No.
The Capitol Hill Day?
No, I didn't.
The outcome for that reading. So I pulled that reading on the 5th, the day before the Capitol. And the outcome was, I put it on Instagram, but the outcome was the 10 of Swords.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, oh, someone's going to die. And, someone died that day.
Oh, Jesus.
So I that reminded me of how amazing, the tarot can be as a tool.
Yeah.
Because some people may look at that as like predicting the future as opposed to just like, or fortune telling as opposed to just like divination. Of course you can use it to fortune tell, but one thing I appreciate so much about the tarot is I've learned to see it as an extension of my own intuition and energy as opposed to like some mystical card force that I seek. Because I feel like, especially as a tarot reader, some people, I'll give people advice and they'll be like, well, what does the tarot say? And it's like, bitch, I'm the tarot. Like, this is
I'm the Hierophant, motherfuckers.
Right? Like, it's just an extension of me. Like, I'm telling you right now. But so it's like, people give the tarot deck this power that you give the power. to the deck.
I see the tarot as kind of like a reflection of whether it's your subconscious or your higher self or a combination of the two, because we've always had, like, everyone's had that moment, right? Where you're like, I'm going to ask the tarot deck, and you shuffle, and then you pull the card that you know really does apply to the situation, but you're like, nah, I'm going to throw that back in there. And then you shuffle it again, and you'll either get that same card within a couple of cards, or you end up getting something that's super similar and complementary to that energy.
I'm immature. Like, if I don't get the card I want, I'm like, no, I don't want this card. And what will happen to me sometimes is I'll see the first card, dismiss it, and then 5 minutes later,
it'll come back.
That card manifests in real life. And it's like,
wow.
Oh shit, that's what that was. And I feel like there's a point in tarot that you get to, like astrology, where you start to see it everywhere. Like, it starts to speak to you.
You'll see the symbolism everywhere. Like, literally everywhere. The so numbers, something that I've been better about doing, like, recently, like in recent months, is like, I pull a card every day. And I feel like that's an important way to start the process, because, you know, there's 78 cards. If you really wanted to get to know the deck, you know, probably one of the easiest ways to do it is to get a deck, get a pen, get a notebook, and you pull one card every day and you work your way through the deck. And then you meditate. Religious
practice. Yeah.
Meditate with it, reflect on it, read about what it means, read about the numerology connections, the planetary connections, the element connections.
And now it's an adventure.
And then it'll show up. Right?
That's the most important thing she said. Like, you want to embrace it, but be prepared for it to show up. Because personally, when I started reading tarot, which is a whole story behind that, which I'm looking forward to breaking down with you. I was very skeptical at first. Like, the whole notion of, like, reading cards and, like, being able to, like, interpret stuff, like, a part of my doubt held me back a lot. And one thing that blocked me was I wasn't ready for the meaning to show up.
Right.
Because it shows up as soon as you pull it too. And for me, like, I would, for so long, like, I would just be so oblivious. The meaning would show up and I wouldn't even know. Until, like, years after, I started to realize more so, like, oh my gosh, like, this is a sacred practice.
Just realizing my shawl's inside out, excuse me. It's gonna bother me.
Libra rising.
Oh yeah, definitely. Hello, Mike. For me, you know, the one thing that I have found so fascinating about tarot is, and I talked about this a little bit in a previous episode, that whenever I look at the card, it's like I see something different every time. Right? Even just looking at, like, the Rider-Waite deck or whatever. And certainly that expands even more so when you're working with multiple decks, because I feel like decks have different personalities. I don't just have decks for specific readings. I have decks that have a whole set of personalities. So I probably have, like, my main 5 that I work with on a regular basis, but I have certain decks that I'll use for ritual purposes, or certain decks that I'll use for specific types of reading, or couple readings, or seasonal readings, whatever. But you know, for me, it's like something about looking at the card, I will see something different every time. And people ask, well, what's the best way to learn the tarot? It's to establish a relationship with it. Like, literally sit and study the card and all of the aspects, because do you need training to read tarot? Probably well, from a very structured standpoint, especially if you want to get, like, super esoteric and heady about it. But in a way, at least the way I read cards and how I teach my students, is like I read it like a storyline. Like I'm literally reading it like how the cards go in order and how they play out. So it would be like a sequence of scenes.
When you pull the cards, you literally just said this right now, but like that's what I love about tarot, to where even if you don't know what the meanings are, if you pull the cards and it tells a story.
Yeah.
And it's like you shuffle the deck, and for the cards to tell the story the way it does, it's like, it's magic to me. It's like, how did this order of cards tell this story that specific? But
also, like, you know, the story of the fool's journey, or like the hero's descent, right? And like everything that he goes through, and how, you know, the fool needs to go and interact with all of these characters, and needs to, like, you know, deal with the Empress, and also, you know, the Chariot and the Justice and the Hangman, and like everything that he goes through in this process of the soul's evolution. We are part of those archetypal stories. Like, we have myth in our everyday life. Myth is everywhere, from our movies to our magazines to music to all kinds of like just major cultural things that we focus on. Like, I think what's cool about the tarot is, yeah, it's a storyline and it can be all discombobulated and it can be in different order, but it's going to apply to pretty much any situation in anybody's life. Like, I've been reading for, I don't know, man. I started reading tarot when I was 14. So I'm coming up on like 16 years.
She OG, yo.
I started reading playing cards.
Oh, that's a tough.
See, yeah. So like,
That's
you know, like that's
Six of Pentacles over here, or
that's
Six of Diamonds over here.
definitely some stuff that's like in my my family heritage. But
Right.
I started with that, and then I kind of moved on to like tarot, and like I looked at like all different kinds of decks, oracle decks, all kinds of things. And like I love collecting decks. I'm not a big oracle fan myself. I know people who are, and that's totally cool. But I'm just like old school. I can read playing cards. I'll read tarot cards. And I'm a free form reader. So yes, you know, I'll do, you know, the Celtic cross spread and all that stuff, but I'm very much about just like using that to intuitively confirm the visions that I'm already having, the things that I'm already seeing, right?
And that's so important, using tarot, because I know there was a time where I used it too primarily, where I depended on it, where it's mainly like astrology, a supplementary tool for your intuition, and the tarot is the best self-initiatory tool to really understanding your own soul and magic, because there's a way, just like Candace said before, there's a relationship you get with the tarot where, as when I first started, I used to be a reader on Keen, and I would always used to like listen and buy readings from other readers, tarot readers especially, and they would get glowing reviews. People would be like, oh my God, I felt so understood. This person was great. And the readings I'd get from them were trash. Barnum statements. They were telling me everything that I wanted to hear. Like, this is the skepticism against tarot is real, because like there's a lot of fakes, there's a lot of frauds. And then you get a reading from like Candace, and then Candace will tell you stuff that you never told her, but she's telling you intimate details. These are not Barnum statements. And that is just so rare. That is just so...
I'm so excited because I have thought about this, not to cut you off. And I want to give each other a reading.
I was going to ask you, could you give me a reading on this? Yes.
It's been a while since I've read you.
Yes.
So I'll give you a freebie. I can't wait. Because I take pride in my reading style because it's very no bullshit. Like, I'm not going to blow smoke up people's ass. You know, like, I'm just not going to do it. And I think that that's what I love about the tarot also, is just the attitude and the demeanor and the power that can come through. And just like, it can be very specific. So before we get into really like reading for each other, definitely want to hear about a little bit about your tarot initiatory story, because that sounds very interesting, and I'll kind of wrap on mine. And then we want to give you guys some tools and talk to you guys and debunk some myths about tarot reading, what you can and cannot do, how to develop a relationship with the deck, and just like little things that maybe we have learned along the way that can be really helpful for helping you guys further develop a relationship with your tarot deck. Because people always ask me, and I'm like, you just start doing it.
And that's what that's what changed that's what changed my skill set and ability. Instead of using it as a tool, I started to connect with it like I'm in a relationship with an aspect of myself. And the tarot definitively made me accept and realize I'm Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm an ancient Egyptian pharaoh, and I believe in the heart of the cards. And it just blew my mind. Like, oh my gosh, like, this is for real. And it definitely just like, you know, that stuff like that. So
he just pulled the Ace of Wands.
Right, my relationship with the tarot is so on point now, where it's just like that. And like, I'll be listening to music and I'll just pull cards at random, and the lyrics are exactly what like, I'm a king, I'll pull the King of Wands, and I'm drinking some beer, and then I get the page of like, it's just like crazy now. So, you know, I'm grateful, because it didn't happen overnight, right? And it just kind of, I know that despite how good I am at tarot, I'm still like, I don't know this much, and I'm just very excited about where to take it. Cause I know I'm gonna get to the point where I can just walk up to a room and just be like, "You stole that, didn't you?"
I love to freak people out with tarot readings. That's like one of my favorite things to do. Like, I love a good skeptic. Like, I live for that shit.
Yes.
Like, genuinely, really do. And I've said this before. I think everybody should be a skeptic, but people who, you know, like, I worked in LA and did a lot of parties and would go and do like big corporate events and all kinds of stuff for the industry, and to sit down with somebody and not know them, maybe it's their first interaction and they're like, oh, this is just like this is
entertainment,
right. And I'll just sit there and have like a grown man in tears within like 5 to 10 minutes. And then, you know, next thing I know, his wife comes over and she's getting a reading and they're crying and they're drunk and they're holding each other. You know, it's just like, it's so cool to say like, okay, cool, you don't have to believe me, but, you know, let me just show you what I can do.
And I appreciate skeptics because, you know, being in this industry, it's very easy to come into people who just blindly believe what you say. And they don't necessarily have the discernment to be able to tell, you know what I mean? Like, how something is on point, which isn't bad on their point to blindly believe, but I can appreciate the skeptic who knows the questions to ask, who knows like how to spot between cold reading versus an actual, you know, intuitive insight that is like straight in.
And that's where I think, you know, tarot is interesting, because you can go like the very kind of like studious path, and you can really study like the hermetic side of it and like all the alchemical, you know, alchemy stuff and like all the ritual stuff, and you can get really deep into that, and that's like sick. There's actually a book that there's a book that I want to show you. I'm seeing, is it on my bookshelf? It's like an Egyptian book on tarot, and it shows a whole different way of reading it, and it's very weird because it's got real big spreads, and I've been like doing them on the kitchen counter when I have time, like once a week. I've been like kind of working them out, and apparently you do like a pyramid, and then it has you like flip over every so many cards, and it gives you like definitive timelines, and it also has very different interpretations of the cards than anything I've ever seen. And I'm starting to wonder if I'm going to start integrating that into my practice, because it takes more time, but it's very accurate. And so I'm seeing myself shift from doing the sessions that are like tarot, clairvoyant, like, and, you know, like pulling cards as I need confirmation, to like being like, man, am I going to be like that old lady who's just going to have like 68 cards on the table, and she's just going to read all of the cards, and it's going to be like creepy accurate? That's
what I want to do. I'm trying to be creepy off the joint. Like, you had cranberry buttermilk for breakfast this morning. And this is like, I'm almost there. That's the best part. I like the metaphysical understanding enabled me throughout time to notice this in real life, and to notice the patterns, be like, oh, this is this card, oh, this is this card. But ironically, all the book lesson, the smart, like studying the meanings of the card, I realized that the tarot really speaks to you with the meaning you give it. So the meaning you ascribe to it is how it'll speak to you. And when I stopped trying to figure out what the cards mean and just let the cards speak to me, that's when the readings became like on a whole nother level. And of course, me speak to myself.
Bless
the
you.
Cards, but yeah,
you gotta let it flow. Like, that's the thing, is that with this, it's so abstract and it's so out there, and you can keep going and respread and respread and respread for an hour. You can freeform, and you can say, okay, I want to expand on that, and then shuffle until a card jumps out. Like, I like to read jumping cards. That's just my thing. I feel like if a card jumps out and several come out on the table, or one's on my lap or one's on the floor, it's like, okay, well, spirits in the house, y'all.
I know this one chick, like, every time she shuffled it, a card would always fly out. I thought she was doing it on purpose. And it's like, oh my gosh, but it'd be on point. So it's just like, like jumping. But
tell me your tarot story. I want to hear this.
Okay, so this is actually tied to my enlightenment, where I was 2011. I think after 2010, basically 2011, I'm basically, you know, let me just go bring it back to the beginning. 2010, I'm hanging around with some shady friends. I get super drunk in a New Mexico party, meet some cool people. I drove there. I'm too drunk. I can't drive back, so I sleep in the passenger car side. I wake up in the driver's seat getting arrested in front of the house that was dropped, or the person dropped off themselves at. And once again, I wake up in the front seat, and apparently in Texas,
You have to be in the back seat.
well, like you can't have the ignition on.
Oh.
And you can't have the ignition, even though I wasn't driving, you can't have the ignition on, or that's a DUI. So later we find out the crime report said that I crashed into the car in front of me, but I wasn't even touching the car, and I got a signed affidavit from the owner of the car to say that. And then later I found out the cop actually, dragged me to the front of the car or whatever and did that. But, that isn't in court. But that really got me thinking somberly, like, if I really died, am I, going to go to heaven? Was I living a good life with Christ? So I dedicated my life to Jesus Christ, and I was a hardcore Christian. 2010, 2011 I was doing Christian rap, and I wanted to really dedicate my life to theology, and I started studying the Bible. I read this book called Misquoting Jesus, and the reason why I was serious about it is because I want to be able to talk to skeptics and make them believers. So I need to know my Bible if I'm going to do that. And I studied the Bible, and I was reading about how theologians study the Bible and turn apostate because they realized, the Bible is not really inerrant.
It's a book of spells, my friend.
Well, so there's the Masonic origin of the Bible that got watered down and we don't get. But then there's like the Bible that's been edited, copied with the Gutenberg press, but before the press rewritten, and all and all the books that were not canonized in the Bible, like the Book of Enoch. So that made me realize, okay, wow, Christianity. And my whole life up to this point, I've never done astrology. I didn't know what a sign was. I didn't know what tarot was. I never knew what a tarot card was at this point. I'm like, what am I going to do with my life? Like, I thought Christianity was it. And so my youngest sister, she's a Cancer, Libra rising, Gemini moon. She's like, hey, well, I know a guy. I can bring you after, church. Just don't say anything. And I'm like, okay. And so she brings me to her friend's stepfather, who was Apollo. Like, he was a Santero.
Okay.
And this is before I knew about that. So he just gave me, I had my first tarot reading then. And he dragged me for filth. And I've never had a tarot reading before. He's an Aquarius. So like the whole concept of someone reading cards and being spot on accurate, and then learning that he does this to people for a living and that he helps people I fell in love with the craft. Like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is what I've always wanted to do. And he kind of mentored me through that period about kind of like releasing my old beliefs and preparing me to kind of like get into the Palo lifestyle or whatnot, because he did Palo Mayombe, which is like the darker version of whatnot. So that led to him teaching me and my youngest sister tarot, and he's an Aquarius. Which, by the way, this is when I started to meet.
It's your Saturn.
Right. This is what, 2012. This is 2011, 2012. So I had just joined Soul Garden. I had just met Chris Witecki. This is when I got my first astrology reading. So at the same time, I was in astrology. And he would always be like, fuck astrology. That's bullshit. Like, you guys wait for transits. We can just call on the Orisha. Like, even when I got initiated, like, they were not fucking with it. But back then, I was like, you're just fulfilling your astrological archetype. Like, it made me believe in it even more. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, this is what it is. But he was a very pivotal process of me to this day. Like, he confirmed what Lotta said. Like, even if someone in your ninth house is shiesty, which I kind of believe that at some point he might have been kind of shady, wanting the money. I'm in retrospect, I feel like maybe we just had a difference of opinion, because I don't think he meant really that unwell. It was a lot of shady stuff, like having to hide this from my mom because we couldn't tell her that I'm sacrificing chicken to like do some stuff, because she and you know what? She ended up finding out anyway. And that's a whole nother story. But as far as the tarot stuff, like he initially said, okay, you see the book of the tarot of the definitions, throw that away. And then,
yep,
right.
I wholeheartedly agree with that statement.
That's the first thing he told me. And then he said, just look at the cards and come up with the meaning for it. And then tell me and then read. So when I first started reading, I was trash. Like, I could not read. Like, I was just so in my head about it. Like, I tried to think too much about it. But my youngest sister was just natural. Like, Cancer, right.
Libra rising.
Killed that. She was reading.
Born for it.
I was so jealous. I was like, oh, how did she get it? And so I don't really know. Because, like, the falling out with him happened. And then, like, I ended up, starting my YouTube channel to read. And I don't know how I ended up really gaining confidence, but it was really just experience.
Yeah.
And just reading. And then I picked up the knack for it. And a lot of it was having the faith to just give the message, because I would give the message thinking, I hope it was accurate. And people were like, wow, this is how it's accurate. And it made me realize, okay, I don't control this. Like, I'm just a conduit. Like, I have to have faith in the message. This is before now. I know what I'm doing, right? But that was really kind of how I stepped into tarot.
I love that, because you have like Mercury on your ascendant and you're a Sun Gemini. So maybe that Mercury takes time to really like build up. And when it does, it's like solid, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've told you, it's used in my chart. It's a hot mess. It's a hot mess. The few people who have seen my chart have been like,
the very definition.
Wow.
But it's in Libra rising, so in a balanced way, in a very classy way.
I'm not gonna put it up there. I'll spare you guys. Maybe you'll see it post edit. We'll see. But
Word.
So like, I mean, hello, like Sun, Mercury, Pluto conjunct in Scorpio, and it's all in my second house. It trines Jupiter. It trines Chiron. And I mean, just, for me, I don't know that
Pluto was just fascinating to me.
Until you live it.
Oh, true.
And you're constantly dealing with your devil on your shoulder who's like, why don't we do this today? And I'm like, no.
Oh my God.
We can't go down that road. We go to work today.
And you can do it too. That's wild.
But yeah, like, the Sun, Pluto, Mercury stuff for me is just, I'm obsessed with the occult. I'm obsessed. Like, I've got an insane like library and a collection of all kinds of stuff on tarot books, astrology books, and psychic development, and all different types of divination, because I dabble in everything from tea leaf reading. That's probably one of my favorite things to do. I did that a lot at House of Intuition in LA for a while. I did that for several years. And I'm interested in palmistry. I think my main stuff is primarily the cards and astrology, but I'm into bone readings too. I have a set of stuff to read bones that I got a couple years back in New Orleans. Somebody gifted that to me. So
what I appreciate about you, Candace, is that like with my even to this day, like I'm very Aries Gemini, so like my experience with it is just kind of like shoot in the dark, but like you're very organized, and you're
2 stelliums,
and you're my 6th house too. So it's like I see you integrate it, and it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm trying to you have the blueprint for me. Like, I need to do this, and I'll be straight. But I really admire that. It's like the work and the lifestyle that I want to live.
For me, it's become so much of like my daily routine that it's like, okay, I start my day, I clear my decks, I clear my space. It's like I'll be having all my weird monk chants or other music going in here, and I burn my incense, and I sit and I meditate and I pull my cards. And I've gotten much better in recent months about doing it every day. Like, I want to know where the moon is. I want to know everything that's going on. I want to pull my card, because I feel like, even me being somebody who does it for a living, like I need that grounding. Like I need that grounding to, I think, feel more so tethered to also not just receiving messages from other people, but receiving messages for myself. And, like I think about my tarot story, and started reading when I was like a teenager, and was super into it, and like had to like buy decks and hide decks, and did that for a while, and then kind of went back to it in my early 20s. And it was just something that was so insightful. Some people journal, other people like to write and write music or make art or whatever. For me, it's always been, all roads lead back to tarot for me. I mean, and that's like I guess that's my real, not just bread and butter, but that's really where I think I've built a name for myself, even though in recent years it's been so much astrology, and that's great. But when you get a reading with me, it's like it's clairvoyant, it's tarot, and it's astrology. I
used to be so like I'm so much more comfortable with astrology because that's more scientific versus tarot, which is just mainly intuitive. And it's like, but now I have so much more confidence with tarot to where it's like I don't second guess myself. Like I know what I'm reading is the message I'm supposed to read. And once you get at that level, or once you get at that stage of confidence, like it's just a whole nother world. And I'm grateful to say I've reached the level of tarot where after 8 years of like experience, I'm just opening the door into a whole new adventure.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I love like getting different books on tarot, whether it's like on different spreads or for me, I use tarot ritualistically. I mean, I'll use tarot cards and spells and all kinds of things. I'll use tarot cards for binding stuff or protecting stuff. I'll use tarot cards for setting intentions and putting specific cards on an altar. Likewise. With specific crystals to manifest things. I'll also occasionally I like to hide, almost like, you know, like magician stuff. I like to hide a tarot card in plain sight somewhere that I'm going to see on a regular basis. So it's like I see it, but I'm seeing it subconsciously. So it's manifesting in my subconscious. So I'm aligning with that energy, especially when a card's coming up a lot. Like I've noticed in recent weeks, like there's 2 cards that keep coming up for me over and over and over. And I'm like, okay, what's it trying to tell me? So when that keeps coming up, I'll make a point of like sitting down and really studying the card, or cracking open one of my books and going to town on trying to figure out all of the different meanings and all of the different things that are really coming through the card that I need to be aware of. Because like Mike said, you know, the symbolism will show up and will start manifesting in your day-to-day life.
Oh yeah. And it's so, and my understanding of it is that it shows up so much that me personally, I'm only aware of like 0.1%, and I'm learning to be more aware of like all of it, because certain cards that I don't really pay that much attention to have so much great meaning. And I consider myself I don't consider myself hardcore because I don't read reverse cards, and personally I feel like reversals make the reading so much more accurate. I just like the upright.
But you don't read it. You don't read reversals?
I mean, if someone reads them for me, I'll acknowledge them.
Okay.
I'm now reaching the stage. Personally, it's like an OCD thing. I just wanted to see them all come up.
No, some people are like that. Like one of my old, I mean, I have many like people that I've worked with that I feel like kind of shaped me into the reader that I am. But I had a friend who is named Patrick. He's passed, unfortunately, a couple years ago. Rest in peace. But he was an Irish tarot reader, and he was in his late 60s. And one of the most profound things that anybody's ever said to me about tarot, when I was having dinner with him and discussing, you know, reading reversals, he was like, look, the tarot essentially started as a set of portraits. They were paintings. It was artwork that only select high practicing people in, you know, the occult tradition or the Hermetic tradition or whatever, wherever you want to, like, there's roots that come from Egypt. There's roots that come from Italy. There's stuff where people say it comes from France. Regardless of where it's come from, he said, you know, essentially these are these really magical images that have very powerful vibrations that actually do make magic happen. And he said, so only select people would have the ability to come and see these portraits, and it's going to be the same picture whether it's upright or whether it's reversed. And so his view was like, you don't read reversals because you're just looking at a painting, you're looking at a portrait, you're looking at art, and it is going to be whatever it is. So I read reversals because I feel like, just me personally, you know, a spread that I get where everything's upright versus maybe a spread where there's definitely a significant amount of cards that are reversed, I will take note of that. But
actually, that's the real reason I don't read. I just don't want the tarot to drag me. Like, I don't want to see the reversals like, get a life, Michael. And it's like, no, give me the upright card. One thing that I appreciate, though, is that the fatalistic edge of like seeing certain cards as good or bad has dispelled, because I went through a 9 of Swords moment, which is like, you know, like the loneliness and whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, my expectation of what this card would be versus the real experience of it is totally different. Like, I was expecting it to be horrible, but I had a very peaceful Nine of Swords experience, which that card's been coming up a lot lately for me. And
it sounds like anxiety to me.
And it is like I'm up late at night, like racing through a lot of thoughts. But instead of it being this nightmarish scenario, which I would expect the card to be, it was peaceful. And that made me realize, wow, even some of the most negative seeming cards can actually have maybe not something positive, but like you can look at it neutrally instead of it being bad.
Yeah.
And it's still like, you know, part of a process. So I really appreciated that because it like helped transcend this whole notion that, oh, these are good cards, these are bad cards, versus it just being what it is.
It's kind of like good or bad aspects in astrology. Are there going to be some things that are easier to navigate? Sure. But the reality of the situation is like, and that's what I love about the tarot, just tarot in general, is like, it's got an attitude. It's not,
yes,
it's got an attitude, and it's very different than I think what you might see with oracle decks and other decks. But also then you take into consideration, like, you know, there are some decks that I've bought that are beautiful decks and they're collectors and they're hard to come by, and I'll shuffle them and play with them a little bit. And I'm like, bitch, you have an attitude. Like, you're going back in the box. Like, you're a beautiful deck, but mommy's not working with you today, you know?
Right,
and
right.
I may have, you know, 40 plus tarot decks, but I've got like my main few that I work with that are just, you know, I talked about it last week. Like, I was so deathly afraid that my favorite deck was going to go out of print that when they do come out with a new edition, I buy like 4 at a time.
And you know what? Oh, that's genius. And you know what? Like, everything has a soul. Some people believe that even, you know, inanimate objects have a sentient soul or a soul. I remember my Gemini moon sister told me before, because she'll like, I think, and now I get it, because she has Saturn and Pisces. She'll go back and forth with being skeptical and then believing. But she used to tell me that she could hear the voices of like portraits. Now she'll tell you it's a schizophrenic delusion, but that was her Gemini moon. And as far as like the whole notion of like, you know, tapping into energies of cards, I remember someone told me the magic of tarot taps in when you know that you're not just pulling a card, you know, you're interacting with a sentient deck.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like each card has its own vibration, right? Like, especially the majors when you think about it. And that's why I really love using, I mean, any tarot card for magical purposes, but really I think the major cards are what do it for me. And that's what really helps me kind of align to certain energies or vibrations by choice, but also in a sense of like, if you're pulling the same major arcana card that's coming up repetitively, like that energy is coming into your life and it's initiating you in a way through that lesson.
I'll be hating when I like pull a card on a crush and I get that 3 of Swords and then I have to pretend I didn't see it and then pull another card hoping I get the lover. It's like
I've given up on reading for myself anymore because I feel like when I try to do it, like, yeah, I get a lot out of my daily cards, but when it comes to like me sitting down and being like, okay, deck, this is the deal, I kind of need an answer, it just fucks around.
You know,
it just
what
fucks around with me. Like, it'll be like, okay,
Right.
it'll either show me what I'm afraid of, or it'll be like,
Right.
okay, this is exactly what's going to happen. And then I freak out and I'm like, there's no way that could happen. And then like literally that day or the next day, it finds a way to manifest. Yeah.
Right. I know. I'm so glad you said that, because I noticed for me, like, and to me, it's like in Pokemon where like, if you don't have a certain gym badge, the Pokemon, you can tell the Pokemon to do a move and it won't respect you. Like, it will do its own thing. And that's what I feel with the tarot. Like, I'll ask the tarot, like, what's this? And the tarot would just tell its own story. Be like, man, fuck your question. Look at this. And it's like, but I asked this, but then what it's telling me is more important. It's like,
but in a way, like, tarot is maybe not all that different than a Ouija board or working with a pendulum or working with a crystal ball or whatever it is that you use, I Ching, whatever, like, to be able to use that as a portal to be able to channel things, this is probably the interesting part of like where we'll get into like the nitty gritty stuff with how to get started with reading cards and maybe how to maintain your deck. And I wanted to bring up like a couple like debunking things. Like, one thing that I've definitely heard of a lot is like, oh, well, you can't buy your own tarot deck.
You gotta be gifted.
You have to be gifted it. Do you believe in that?
You know what? I believe that you can buy your own deck, but I do believe that if it is gifted to you, there is power to it. But I don't believe that you can't buy your own deck.
Okay, because a bitch be treating herself.
Right. It's sometimes you're led to a deck and you gotta buy it. So, I mean,
do you buy decks pretty frequently?
I used to. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. I was on the verge of selling all my tarot decks. Like, I was about to stop reading tarot and just pick up palmistry, just because I felt like I'm done with tarot. I want to start developing something else, and at the last minute, I just started reading it again.
Huh.
Right, which was interesting, and I'm so glad I didn't stop, because when I wanted to stop was right before I was about to break through in tarot. Because after I continued, my readings just started to be more on point. Of course, I had an awakening and Saturn return, but yeah, as far as like one big misconception and criticism about tarot is that it's demonic and that it's of the devil, and like your toothbrush isn't of the devil. You brush your teeth with it, and this whole notion that tarot is divination and just not, like, right. Tarot readings, a lot of people don't understand that the process of tarot reading only brings out more of what you already do without the tarot cards. So the tarot can't be evil because it's only a physical representation of what every human being divines when you have conversations with other people. So a lot of that rhetoric is so misleading because, the tarot, you can't blame the tarot for something that comes more from you. And it's really just a tool to... It's
a reflection. It's a mirror. Because many times it's going to show you things that you already know. It's like, that's why when I get a tarot card, when I get a reading, like when the cards come up, I can't help but laugh because it's things that I'm like, yeah, of course it would say that. Like, yep, it's saying exactly what I need to hear because I'm not actively doing that, or I'm not acknowledging that, or I'm not initiating that. So...
And like there's a way where you can kind of self-delude yourself with the cards and see what you want to see. So like once again, like I really appreciate, like there's a way you can interpret it where without a shadow of a doubt it's an accurate message, especially because of the real-time reflection of the manifestation. But
for me, I've been so hardcore in myself. I'll be like, okay, we're going to pull a card of the day. It doesn't matter if it's the 3 of Swords or if it's the Hermit or whatever it is. Like, that's the card of the day. I put it out all day to work with that energy. And then I have my daily 3 card spread. So I'll shuffle, spread, see what I need to see. Do you read daily? Do you pull daily? You do?
I kind of sometimes pull too much in a day too. It's like, and I've gotten to this obsessive point where it's like I wanna know the card I'm gonna pull before I pull it. And
I do that.
I'm starting to get, every time I do it, it's unconscious. It's like I'm not trying to do it, but I just kind of do it. Versus when I try and force it, it's not that good.
Sometimes I'll start a reading like, I'll pull up the chart and I open space and do everything, and I sit and I talk a little bit about what comes up clairvoyantly before I get into anything, and I'll see symbols of the tarot as I'm talking and start talking about things, and then I shuffle, and sure enough, that card or those cards will come up.
It's because what it's telling you.
You know what it's, you're connecting to it. There's a weird frequency, like almost like a, it's kind of like when you're getting in the car and you're thinking of a song, or you start humming a song and then you turn on the radio and then you're like, that's weird, I was just thinking of the song and it's playing. Yes. It's kind of like that. Like you get like a head start on what you're getting ready to connect to. So like the more that you start working with it and reading, I think the more that you establish a relationship, not just with tarot, but even with specific decks. At least for me, I have that. What was another thing that I talked about wanting to debunk? That's how you connect with your deck, and some people
sleeping with it.
Have you done that?
So I was also told you have to sleep with it for 7 days. And the thing is, I'm so lazy. I never did it for like 1 day, and I want to actually try it.
We should do that. You want to do that? We'll sleep with the deck somewhere for the next week and see if anything happens.
That'd be dope.
Okay, that'll be our science experiment, because I've never done it either. I've heard that's what you're supposed to do.
Like under the pillow too, I think.
Yeah, or like under the pillow by the bed. I've never done that.
Yeah.
ever.
I'm gonna try. Well, we'll
Okay, we'll let you guys know how that goes.
I might have some crazy dreams, dude.
Do you clear or charge your decks?
No, and that's the one thing about my spirituality that I feel once I apply, I'll be unstoppable. It's the discipline, like the actual ritual and structure. That as a Gemini, I felt like, oh, I don't need to do this. Let me just jump into it. And now that I'm tapping in my Capricorn, like I really want to like charge or lead. Like that's a foreign language to me. I didn't even know you can do that.
You think that's like your 8th house moon stuff or what?
I mean, I'm obsessed with that. The 8th house moon is obsessed with the occult too. It's just wanting to know the power and how to structure it. Like
very interesting. I haven't really thought of it like that.
Because I just wing it. And I want to be more like you that actually has like that structure. I feel, and before I had to wing it just so I can kind of go out there, but now I'm ready to kind of like.
That's why I'm interested to see like how we have both progressed in our reading style, because I mean certainly like I'm going to be true to how I started. My reading style has never really changed, but I feel like it's definitely unfolded and evolved more. Like you kind of spoke about like learning to trust it more. Like, you know, I definitely know that if I'm going to get those spreads where somebody's going to be like, is he coming back? And it's like the devil and the 3 of cups reversed and like a bunch of swords. Like there's no spin in that, right? Like as much as I want to be like, yeah, everything's going to be fine. It's not. And there have also been many times in my life where I've been, you know, really kind of like, okay, I'm going to pull these cards and see what's going to happen. And it's not an easy position to be in, getting the reading and maybe seeing some of those cards. But it's even harder to be in our position where
not to sugarcoat.
We have to. Yeah. I mean, there's a difference between being able to read cards and comprehend cards and also being somebody who has really good, what is it? It's not bedside manner because we're not doctors, but it's like, you know, being able to relay that because it's all in our delivery. Because I think the difference between a good reader and a not so good reader is not necessarily even the knowledge of the cards, although that is very important. It's how they relay the messages and how it's not just giving you a regurgitated version of what the cards are saying, but being like, this is what's going to happen. Here's how you move through it. Here's what to expect. And this is what you need to know moving forward. They're going to give you those tools that you just can't teach, that you learn over a period of giving readings to people and learning how to kind of know, you know, how to deliver things and what people can and cannot take. And also learning through experience and reading your own cards. You know, you can become a very well-versed reader in regularly pulling a couple cards for yourself and documenting, this is the date, this was my question that I asked, these are the cards that came up, and then this is how the symbolism played out over that day or that week or whatever. And the more that you start to become comfortable reading the cards and learning those combinations, the easier it will be for you to start giving consultations to other people.
My mentor, the one who I talked to you about, who introduced me to tarot, the woman who he was dating, her younger sister's boyfriend got a reading from him. And he was telling him, hey, the outcome is the 10 of swords. And we got the death card. Be very careful who you're messing with.
Yeah.
He died that night.
See, that's the thing is like, timing with tarot is so spooky. Like when you get into like the really in-depth seasonal and how many days and months and all kinds of things, like I've had those. I haven't had those readings. I've given those readings where I've been like, listen, like XYZ is going to happen, and like unfortunately things do happen, but that's the whole purpose of getting a reading. It's not giving away your future or buying into something. It's getting that information in advance, in hindsight, because your higher self is delivering that message to you so you can create change.
Right. You were meant to, and that's so well said, like you were meant to come into that information so that you could do something about it. For sure. So
I clear my decks. I have to. Right. Like I'll clear them, I'll shuffle them, I'll clap, snap, whatever. I run them through incense. I don't put them outside during a full moon. I probably should, but I don't. I just keep crystals on them. One of my favorite things to do, actually, that really makes my decks active, and my decks are very active. I'll tell you in a second. I like keeping Moldavite on my decks. Nice. I really like keeping Moldavite on my decks. I like keeping a big old crystal, like a clear quartz.
I have a labradorite crystal. That's
a good one.
Yeah.
That one, or selenite. I have like little selenite wands I'll put on them and stuff like that. I usually will shuffle them, clear them, and then put a crystal on them at the end of the night when I'm done working, and then come back the next morning. But I have some very active decks. I have to be honest with you. I've had some weird shit. Like, I don't know if there's like, I mean, obviously when you're working in this field, you have a lot of weird, funky spiritual energies that are around. So I'm pretty good about keeping my space clear. I burn stuff every day. I clear every day. I do my higher, the banishing ritual, or the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, which I think everybody should learn if you're a new baby magician.
This one Taurus lady saw my deck and she said, "This is it. There's a funky feeling from this deck," and she took me to a park and made me bury the deck.
Did you go back and get it?
I wanted to. I never did.
Oh my gosh, that's so sad.
It was my favorite deck. And I started to believe, was this or no, I believe maybe.
I can see how you like return and like neutralize that energy, but I've definitely had some,
it was missing the star card.
Okay, so that's the other thing. Yeah. So, okay, that builds on what I was going to say. It's
right.
Like, there have been days where I'm like, there's nobody else in my space. There's nobody around. I'll take the deck at the end of the day and I'll put it somewhere, and I will literally come to my workspace the next day and there's cards on the floor, or there's things that have moved, or there's like stuff that's like clearly been messed with, or like, I don't never know the order that the cards are in because I shuffle them and then just leave them. But I've seen like, okay, I'll put them here, and 2 days go by, I come back and I come to work and there's been nobody in my space, and it's like something's like this.
The tarot story.
Or something's like this. And I'm like, oh hell no, spirit. Like there's probably elves in my house. That's probably what's going on.
It's tarot story. That's what it is.
But they're active. They have all of these different little personalities. And so for me, I think what's really cool is like when I see that, or like what you said, when a card is missing, I can think of 2 specific situations in my life where I picked up a deck and like went through it and like realized very quickly, like, oh my God, this card is missing. I was constantly freaking out going, what does it mean?
Right.
What does it mean? What does it mean that this card is missing? And
I wouldn't even use a deck if the card, because it's not complete to me.
No, you can't use a deck if a card's missing.
Yeah.
You can't do that. But I have lost the card and then found the card, and then it was like clearly a message that was like, look, you're not paying attention. Like right. This energy. I found the card both times. That's awesome. And one time it was a very, very, very expensive collector deck, and I had a meltdown. But I found it, and both of those times, the cards that were missing from the deck were, it was clearly a message that I needed to get. I'll say that.
That's wild. And like, I've been embracing more the existence of fairies and elves and like those realms. So, I mean, the tarot definitely helps to connect to that as well, and just like embrace more of this magic. But I feel like for the longest I've been a baby that's been experiencing the magic of tarot, and now I'm ready to like step up as an adult and like utilize
the emperor.
Wow, like this is where I'm at with tarot now. It's just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna take the back seat and let you speak to me.
So are we gonna read for each other or what?
Yes. Oh look, King of Swords, Emperor.
Do you want to read with that deck or this deck?
I wanted to read with that deck, but I want to read with this.
You want that one?
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's my baby. Let's throw some fucking cards.
Oh snap!
I'm kind of excited for this because some of you guys have seen my reading style. Some of you guys have had readings with me. Mike certainly had 1 or 2. It always gets fun when we haven't done this for a while.
First.
Okay.
All right, let's see what we got. Tell me
I'm trying to
stop shuffling.
think. How do you want me to do this? You want me to think about my question? Do I tell you? Do I not tell you?
Tell me when to stop shuffling,
okay.
And just focus on what you want to know or what's on your heart.
Stop.
Boom.
Oh my God.
This is dope too. Oh, the star. Okay. I don't normally do reversals too, so this is going to be lit. And hit you with the... Oh, I love how you come up as the strength card. That's amazing. Okay.
Oh, I have some interesting stuff to say about some of the cards that are coming up there.
And that's the thing when you read for readers, like before you can interpret, they already interpreted the
I'm just
cards.
going to say the card that has been coming up for me repeatedly, like the last couple of weeks, has been the Chariot and the Strength card. Wow. Those two cards have been coming up like almost every 2 or 3 days is my daily stuff.
So we got the Four of Cups, which is very beautiful in this deck. It's just like someone who's just kind of like not festive, but I got a different feel, especially with the Nine of Pentacles. This is you really just, oh my God, this is you just, I was gonna say you're a bad bitchness, but this is you.
That's my RBF.
Right.
I'm also not known for playing well with others, so that doesn't surprise me.
I see this more so as just like contemplating. So this is my left side of the brain taking the meanings, like contemplating your financial development and just kind of deadpan, like not really, like this isn't really even bad, just kind of like more in an objective way, just kind of like feeling where you want to go next with your financial life. But with the Four of Cups here, we know we have the Four of Wands and the Chariot reversed, which is a celebration of a lifetime that is on pause right now because you're in the process of really restoring your faith and your beliefs, which is even wilder because the Knight of Cups is reversed here. So it's an emotional blockage that is interesting. I really think the saving grace here is the Star is up at the crown. So like with the Four of Wands reversed, this to me is like, I love how it comes with the Chariot too. It's actually an inevitable celebration. And the Four of Wands is one of those cards that even reversed, it's like still positive. But for the main core, this is a delay, which has everything to do with Saturn, of your victory. Like, let's assume this is upright. This is like so much. This is actually breakthrough victory that's coming through that you're celebrating. But the reason why it's delayed is because of an emotional block. And here we have the Four of Cups that is causing perhaps you to miss out on festive, good news, almost because maybe your mind is elsewhere, or almost because you tap into the meaning of a situation that others can and you can't really say because it will kind of change the fate or something like that. And this is where now the reverse is kind of different, and I'll get to. So the Justice card in the past, it could actually contribute to this Knight of Cups where you feel maybe you weren't fairly represented and perhaps you were dealt with unfairly. And this the Knight of Cups can actually denote a knight, but I'm feeling strongly it's more like an emotional block because, yeah, it is an emotional block, especially with the Two of Swords where your heart is like literally closed in Libra. So what's throwing me off though is the Star. It's like within, it's like your heart is cut off, but you still know that everything is gonna be okay. You still know you've seen the vision of success here. So this is really just a delay. It's inevitable. And the Two of Swords is also, okay, I got a whole different meaning from this too. The Two of Swords is also you coming into success and you maybe winning $10 million, but it's reversed. So you're not telling anybody. And it's like, no one of you know that I won the lottery right now, and I'm gonna keep it this way. And look at you, Nine of Cups, just literally chilling. Like, yeah, the guidance is literally saying like, just enjoy your fulfillment. But the King of Pentacles reversed is interesting because that, to me, with the Strength and Two of Wands, this is you on some boss stuff, like on boss mode. Like you're fully in your divine strength. And you're making the plans moving forward. And I think it's amazing how the guidance of the Nine of Cups is saying to like relish in your satisfaction. But the King of Pentacles as an outcome to me, I feel is like tentative. Like it's reversed right now because you haven't necessarily expressed the good news or what's happening. Actually, it's also another facet that I don't want to say because I feel like I'm sugarcoating, but
No, I want the real deal because I'm looking at these cards and specifically the majors.
right.
Because I think the majors are very telling. Whether they're upright or reversed, to me, it doesn't really matter. But
Yeah.
that's very telling for me. Like the majors coming up and also just, the flow chart of like the star being on top and putting emphasis on renewal and healing, especially from like justice reverse issues and the Two of Swords connected with the Chariot and the Justice card. That's very...
Which Two of Swords here is talking about, my bad friend here, is talking about in the future position, not letting people coerce you to make a decision. It's like, you keep that shit on lock. But to me, the vibe I'm getting right now is that you're coming into your greatest victory and you're telling nobody. It's like, but like, that's the guidance. It's like, enjoy it, but like, as far as everyone else knows, you're broken. Nobody wants you. But the opposite is true.
I think that I'm learning to keep my fucking mouth shut and just not. Probably it's best to just not talk about things.
I'm gonna pull a horseshoe spread for you.
Chariot card's haunting me.
Yeah, especially
it's haunting me because I'm like, oh my god, what's gonna happen in like June? Like something's coming in like June, July, and I'm like watching like Mars come into Cancer on my midheaven, and I'm like,
damn.
Oh, please, Lord Jesus. Yeah, so I'm kind of already proactively planning.
I love how the Hermit has a scythe. This is dope. Oh my god. Oh
Again,
my god.
I don't mind that card. That's very me. 9 of Pentacles. I'm gonna fucking treat myself.
Oh my god. Let's go. Ace of Cups. Okay. And the High Priestess. That's interesting. Okay. So this is 04 Come and get this bag. That's lit because everything about boom.
I saw that. 9 of Cups too. Yeah.
Everything about okay, so this horseshoe spread is present, expected, unexpected, next step, after. So I love how unexpected we have the 9 of Pentacles, which is the underlying theme of the other reading, and the 4 of Pentacles. This is you just unexpectedly sitting pretty, super rich, and like it's interesting because you're expecting success, you're expecting the world. Right now you're on the Hermit. Introspective. I don't even sense antisocial as much as like really uncovering your own personal perspective. But what really excited me was the 9 of Pentacles. So given that other reading, this is going to both turn upright or whether it's upright or not. The Ace of Cups and the High Priestess is just with this unexpected success. I don't even want to say this is intuition. This is just like you perhaps maybe stepping into a new facet of yourself as High Priestess. But normally this is a guy, and I think this is a lady, and I love how that coincides with here. You're making bank in another few. That 10th house transit, I think, is going to be it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And then, that eclipse point that's getting triggered on my midheaven. I don't know what's going to happen.
Flip the deck for you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's going to happen.
I'll take that.
Word.
I'll take that. Yep, I received that. I received that.
All right.
Well, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, my friend.
That was fun.
Wow. You ready to spill all the tea?
Yeah. Last time I had a reading, you said that I was going to be with a Scorpio woman. Maybe. You said I most likely.
It's your 7th house.
Yeah. Or the way I see it is she'll definitely have Scorpio characteristics or 8th house characteristics.
For sure. What's your Juno?
Scorpio.
Oh.
10 degrees.
So, yeah. you like those older ladies.
Ooh. What? Those what?
Older ladies.
I mean.
Juno 10.
It's interesting because 10 degrees, okay, because I was asking the other day, like, I don't know if I can date an older woman or if And then I started to feel like I'm about to I can probably meet an older woman that can like destroy all my conceptions of what I would think being older.
I think your Saturn transit's so good for you right now because squares suck, but squares present you with challenges that require you to change. So when you've got a square in your 10th house from, you know, your Pluto and also your Venus, there's some kind of shift that's happening where like you're stepping into like realizing that, you know, you're going to go after what you want and you're taking initiative and you're practicing having boundaries and perhaps really growing, you know? And
I know yesterday I saw an older woman that I was like, oh my God. And it just kind of like opened my mind to like, okay, like it just kind of destroyed that apprehension I had and like opened me up to the possibility of dating older women. Like, okay.
What degree is your Venus?
14.
Oh, so Uranus is coming for your Venus soon.
Oh,
so,
really soon?
So you're going to start having like dreams about her before you meet her.
I mean, I've already had some dreams.
Yeah, but
if this is the same, if it's the right person, unless it's of someone else, but like,
man, that's going to be crazy. You might actually meet her through work because that's your 10th house ruler, right?
Venus?
No, Uranus.
Uranus is my 10th house ruler.
And Venus is your chart ruler. So that's going to get interesting with Venus coming up on, and then the North Node's going to go into Taurus. You know, Venus in the 12th house is interesting. That's like the mark of a soulmate.
Uranus in my near Venus is like I'm channeling this person through my pillows, and I'm like making out ferociously with my pillows. Like, I love you, baby.
I have Venus conjunct Uranus natally in Capricorn.
Oh my God!
Yeah, in Capricorn. Damn. Yeah, that's
what degree?
6.
6.
Okay. Yeah, very Virgo-ish.
My Uranus is 8 degrees. Retrograde.
Wow. Yeah. All right, so I want you to cut the deck however many times you want until it feels right. Thinking about your question, your topic.
This one's for the imaginary girlfriends, Venus 12. But I'm breaking up with you, boo. I'm about to get a real bae. All right, I'm good.
Okay, now we'll restack the deck in any order that you'd like, whatever feels right. Oh, all right. Bottom of the deck, Ace of Wands.
Oh!
Ace of Wands.
Oh my God. Here we go. Oh my God. It's an awakening.
That move was really good for you. It's going to shift your energy.
Oh, that's what it feels
Big
like.
Time.
Big
nice. Time.
Oh, shit.
You know, Judgment through crossed by 4 of Swords. Some would assume that that's almost like a funeral energy. And that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a funeral that's going on. You know, this is kind of what's happening and then what's crossing you. So I see Judgment almost as like literally Judgment Day, making that decision about what you're going to bury and what you're going to resurrect or what you're going to bring back. So the conflicting or the crossing energy being that 4 of Swords is basically saying like rest and renewal, making the decisions to let some things be in the past, the need to actually close the door on certain things and really actually bury things, which is funny because you were talking about how traumatic that was. But there may be some aspect that's going on also mentally where you've had issues, and you talked about it earlier in the podcast, sleeping, because there's like a lot of decisions that are weighing heavy on your mind, and there's a lot of things that are constantly coming up that you're thinking about that you need to actually make a decision on now.
And I hate to interrupt, but the Judgment 4 of Swords is everything that's been intensely been on my mind for the past 2 months, like awakening.
Yeah.
On my spiritual coma, or just like awakening.
But you also need that. You need that period of rest before you're like catapulted into something else, is kind of how I see some of this stuff. There's some weird like relationshipy things going on too. So, you know, the sun being on top of the spread, I think is good, because really what that's saying is that like the enlightenment period, you don't have to wait for it. It's happening. Right. Part of the enlightenment period is realizing that there are certain things that you cannot deny any longer. There are certain things that you can no longer keep in your life or hold in your life. I see it almost as like things are slipping through your fingers and you're like, wait a second, but I have to hold all of these things together. Everything has to stay. And it's basically saying, no, not only does it not need to stay, but it's okay for you to just check the fuck out.
Oh, nice.
Okay. 3 of Cups reversed in the past, 2 of Cups reversed below. I kind of see that as like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but something about this makes me feel like you get so caught up in other people's shit and other people's pettiness or other people's emotions or other people's jealousy or other people's arguments or other people's need to create drama and cause drama that it's like you're exhausted, you're wiped. And this doesn't have to necessarily be in a romantic sense. It can be in a business partnership sense. It's people who you interact with, who's got beef with other people, who's got back and forth and drama. And it's like really saying, if you're feeling exhausted, if you're feeling worn down, part of it's because you're absorbing some of that stuff from other people. Now, could this be from clients? I see this more so being as like just like a lot of different social situations that you're juggling all at one time.
That's it.
Also perhaps maybe feeling like people are kind of pulling at you because you can't always physically show up for some of those social connections or occasions, and you're starting to realize who your real friends are.
Friend. Yes, no, I was joking. Friends, for sure.
But the 2 of Cups reversed and the 3 of Cups reversed can also be quarrels, conflicts, drama, women fighting over you, some bit of a back and forth and deciding whether or not you want to move forward into partnership and relationship, and having some fear or some phobias in doing so because of how things have gone a bit haywire in the past. That's in the past.
Right.
So you can leave it in the past.
Beautiful.
I also think there's this shift of realizing that you don't have to always wait for the invitation. I know you're a projector, but what it's basically saying is that you don't have to wait for other people to initiate. It doesn't need to be something where you wait for other people to invite you or ask you to go out to dinner or go on a date or participate. In a way, there's almost too many people that are doing that and like kind of have sticky fingers. And this is an important period of time, and you realizing that you need to take initiative. Okay. Right. And basically being like, I want you. I don't want this. I want this. I don't want that. This isn't working. And I see this as almost like severing some relationships that are more surface relationships that can be kind of just like they're taking up too much space.
Ooh, that's deep.
3 of Pentacles reversed. I still see that as a positive card. I think what it's really reminding you though is not having your hand in too many different pots, really focusing on, instead of doing a bunch of things at one time, really focus in bringing your energy in and harnessing that to be able to like create 1 or 2 or 3 really good ideas, really great projects, things that are actually going to produce that upright pentacles. Yeah. Creatively, especially King of Wands. Yeah. And really getting to a point where that may mean that you do have like this internal crisis moment where you're like, am I going to shave some of my modalities so I can really specialize on this? Right. And so I see like the 3 of Pentacles as 3 lines of income. So it may be coming from readings, it may be coming from music, it may be coming from other things that you're doing, and trying to really say, you know what, in order to do the best, I have to cut some things out so I can really prioritize and put my energy into these projects because I'm trying to make money.
Right.
9 of Pentacles reversed. So it's there, right? Like it's like you have what you need. You don't always realize it, but it's always there. Like you're supported. Okay. And also it's, I think, moving away from indulgent lifestyle choices that are actually hindering your ability to really focus on true value. And
that was literally this Pisces season. I released all that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's like, 9 of Pentacles upright is like all the goodies and all the indulgences and all the nice things and all the extra stuff and the food and the this and the that. But it's like, if it's flipped around, you have what you need, but it's reminding you also that overindulgence is actually not aligning with your true values, and it's not allowing you to feel like you have that money to put towards some of the things that you really do value and want to create. So abundance is a state of mind in that sense. 7 of Swords reversed in the moon is interesting because I kind of see that as like learning to separate intuition from, I think, fears or phobias, learning to move away from a sense of feeling like you have to hide out and be indecisive because you can't trust your intuition, or because you can't see clearly, and dealing with some deceptive situations, but not necessarily from people, but some deceptive energies, where it's almost like you're being tested in a way. So I kind of see this as like right before you level up, especially in an intuitive sense. You're going to be presented with all of the obstacles right now that are going to show up and really test you and make you ask yourself, do you really believe in your dreams? Are you willing to face your fear head on? Are you willing to also get past or move through any fears that you've had with trust in the past? So there may be some almost like skeletons in the closet that come out, or something that reminds you of the past where you get triggered. And the universe is trying to see if you are going to react the same way, or if you're going to move through that fear and face it head on.
Wow.
This also talks about intentionally deceptive or misleading energies, but they're being cleared out. So people who are being removed from your path, especially if they would have been somebody who would have snuck into your camp at night and been untrustworthy or misleading. It's also reminding you that the money is not necessarily, like, the money's nice, but it's not necessarily the focus. And what you're moving towards is trying to really kind of ground your energy out in a long-term sense. 10 of Wands reverse is never a bad card to get. I see that as completely releasing and letting go. It may not be the easiest or the smoothest transition.
Is it like my burden is dropping or something like that?
Yeah, like it's basically like, and a lot of that I see that as like the move, and whether that's like having moved recently or being in a situation where you're making a conscious effort to clear out these burdens, or making a conscious effort to just clear house, right? So 10 of Wands is usually that completion of after having gone through all of that work. When it's reversed, it's like there's still some things you have to keep together, but all in all, it's still a 10 and it's still a completion. It's also saying like, 10 weeks, you're going to really start to kind of see the shifts. A lot of it was probably if you downsized, you decluttered, you got rid of things, you let some things go, and you're learning to approach life as kind of like a less is more philosophy, which I feel like a lot of Taurus placements are going through right now. They're realizing that they can't cling to physical things. Even though the Wands is also having your hands full in a multitude of projects, that's like reminding you like it's okay to let some of that stuff go. My clarifying cards were the King of Wands, the Knight of Cups, and the Three of Wands.
That's me right now.
So I kind of see it as like you've already made your decision in where you're moving in your direction forward. You're starting the process. I think what's interesting is you're learning to let go of a much more like whimsical kind of even idealistic or kind of hopeful version of yourself that's just more so willing to want to see the best in situations or want to see the best in people. And you're really aligning with your vision and getting very clear about kind of graduating from being in this Knight position to being Mr. King of Wands, who he was actually talking about earlier in the podcast about coming into this really feisty, fiery, direct, passionate, creative, demanding in a good way type energy. And for him to be, an Earth rising and an air sun and an Earth moon, he's really leaning on that fire. So it's reminding you like when we come into some of these fire transits and when some of these planets start to move, like Mars and Venus, or when the sun gets there, and inevitably when Mercury makes its way into Aries, that is when you are going to have the best time to act. I also see this as like being open to your future location changing and not wanting to be defined with like, your job should not define ultimately where you expand to or where you live or where you travel to, or wanting to move more into a much more active or kind of like global or even travel based position, and really focusing on growing the following, and not just in a sense of like trying to get more people to follow you, but trying to get more people to really see your perspective and your direction moving forward, and getting very clear about that vision so that way you can also encourage other people to come and participate or to collaborate or to actually follow you in what you're doing. So it's a leveling up altogether.
Love it.
Yeah, it's good. Questions?
Very accurate. Actually, I do have a question. First of all, thank you, because that definitely puts everything in perspective. I'll keep in mind the move. Can I actually get 3 more cards
Sure.
to represent like 3 different people?
Yeah, I'll respread.
Awesome. And I'll just see what comes up about them.
Do you not want to give their names?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'll say the first is Sagittarius, the second is Capricorn, and the third is Aquarius.
Okay, so the Sag. Ten of Swords.
Okay.
It's not necessarily, I mean, it's reversed. So it's about that situation falling away or removing, you know, some kind of pain or insecurity or like moving on from some kind of past hurt. Like if it was upright, I could see that as being like, yeah, that's a done deal. But intuitively, I don't feel like it has anything to do with you. Yeah. It has more so to do with the other person and like what the other person is or is not capable of actually being able to give you. And it's about not getting your feelings hurt, but really looking at the situation like, okay, is this really something that you feel like is going to be beneficial for you? Can you hold on to this long term?
Right.
What's the other one?
Oh, Capricorn. Jesus Christ.
Strength Emperor. Is it a woman?
Yeah.
Do you get the impression that this is somebody who's getting really serious about the direction of where she's going with her life and putting an emphasis and being like, I'm looking for a husband and I want children?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've had dreams of this person too. I'm blocked by this person though. It wants nothing to do with me. But like
people will plague you on the astral.
That's what I'm saying. I'm getting
People will plague you on the astral
by this person on the astral. So I always get this card for it too.
But
so.
the Strength in the Emperor is an interesting kind of like.
Aries,
good luck.
right.
The Strength in the Emperor is kind of like this like power struggle in a way, right? Where it's like the Emperor wants to rule with an iron fist and like can be this very Aries dominant, like this is the way that it is. But the Strength card also does remind you
mean as hell.
that in order to be able to tame the lion, you know, the lion is not in a cage. He's not in a collar. He doesn't have a leash. He is not being strangled. He's not being kind of in a chokehold. Like she's embracing the lion. What she's doing is she's showing you that the truest strength is emotional strength. And even in spite of the hostility that might come from the lion, remaining open and kind of reminding yourself that really like the biggest form or the strongest form of strength, I think, is really emotional strength and the capacity to love.
Well, she hounds me in the astral every day. So.
Well, you need to tell her that she needs to show up in real life.
That's what I do.
Put some salt by your bed and just banish the bitch.
I have to. I'd be arguing and be like, yo, you're not going to use my energy. I'm not your human dildo. Like,
oh my God.
See me for real. Like,
but also it's like, it seems like she's taking a stand because she's really adamant and firm about what it is she does want if she feels like that was not respected or understood early on.
Yeah.
Who's the other one?
Aquarius.
Whoa.
Oh.
9 of Coins, Page of Wands reversed. Interesting, because I can kind of see that as like, I mean, like, look at it. What is she doing? You know, it's almost like she's taunting the page, or she's being like, what's up? You coming along? Like, what are you doing? To me, that seems like it can kind of be like playing games. I also kind of get the impression that it feels like,
my bad. Oh my God, that gives so. Okay, because like, tell me if you think this is a game playing. Because like, I flew commercial jet for the first time ever, and it was to go to.
I was about to say, like, there's some kind of distance here of somebody trying to get to somebody and like somebody not appreciating it, or.
Well, it's interesting because I moved to Vegas and now she lives in Vegas, and then. And I've been trying to reach out to her, and it's like, I don't know, I haven't been able to. But I remember I went to go see the Leo King, and for the first time I flew commercial jet, and I thought that was dope. And then her Instagram post pops up, and she's talking about it's her first day flying commercial jet, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? That's crazy. I felt like that was supposed to mean something, but I just was oblivious over my head. But now that feels like I was being played with too. Like,
yeah, to me
trolled.
it seems like, especially because, I mean, yeah, she's got a bird on her hand, but you see this kind of like, okay, come over here. Like, what are you doing?
Picture with her.
The tarot doesn't play, dude. The tarot does not play
at all. And I feel like I'm this page of wands too.
I was gonna say, I mean, you kind of are.
Right.
It's cute though.
Reverse too, just a crazy mess.
I mean, honestly, I of all of them, I still feel, and this is very symbolic of like the Saturn square that's going on for you in your chart.
I've been running away from this one, but it's just like a horror movie.
Sounds like maybe you need to do like a soul retrieval or something, like to clear that out. I feel, honestly, part of what's happening when Uranus comes into that conjunction with your Venus is like there's going to be a clearing. And that's what it does. It is a clearing. It electrifies. There's definitely something that really...
feels like mass closure and just letting go.
Yeah, but I also see, Wheel of Fortune, 3 of Swords, 9 of Wands, Justice, Page of Pentacles. It's like trying to remind you that the fate is changing. And if you kind of feel like, at least in regards to relationships, that there is part of you that never fully exposes yourself because you've been hurt, or there's fear of giving all of your heart and not getting it really back again, then the Justice card and the Page of Pentacles is saying like you're going to keep having these more immature connections and relationships that don't ever really produce fruit if you're not consciously letting some of this stuff go. Because I think good things are coming. The Wheel of Fortune, 3 of Swords is a weird combination, but it's almost like that needs to happen. Like, I'm a firm believer, I guess, at this point in my life, that it's like, if you have a broken heart, it sucks. And it definitely takes time to like work through that stuff. But like a broken heart also can be some of like the best medicine and really like wake you up and make you realize like, oh my God, I'm alive. Like there's a heart in there. Like I can feel things. Like it can also be an opportunity to just like jumpstart everything and really get you back on the path of realizing like what love and connection is. It's kind of what's coming up.
Could I get one more card
Sure.
instead of a person, just for like the I'm just gonna take that as like a indicator of the soul seeking.
The person?
Yeah. Because I mean, it's like through different potential, I'm just sensing like a force that I'm connecting with and through, as far as making something happen. But it's my own Page of Wands reverse that's like blocking it.
Well, it's also letting go of all like the petty stuff,
That
from the past, and thinking that that's what relationships are, and that what you go towards is whatever is gonna fight and do that energy.
That's real. Jesus Christ, that is amazing.
I saw that.
Oh, nice.
Still 3 of Coins and 7 of Swords. Those cards are repeating, so it's this. There's some need for you, perhaps, to still go back and reflect and really look at what has and has not worked. And I see 7 of Swords as like definitely like a connection to soul retrieval. Like there may be some medicine there for you to do some ritual like that, or do some cord cutting to be able to like really get everything in order and like see relationships for what they are, and maybe not overly idealize people who treated you like shit.
Yeah, I gotta stop doing that for sure.
10 of Cups is a good outcome.
Yeah, it is. Actually, I was really happy to see this too.
I'm digging it. I like it.
Yeah.
I definitely think that this is a good way to end this end the spread and the reading. And
Agreed.
Yeah, I think it's also about you letting go of like some like Peter Pan syndrome stuff.
Oh yeah,
there's definitely
that for sure.
Which is funny because you're a Capricorn moon.
Like that's starting to awaken, and the Gemini sun is starting to like transform.
There's some shift that's going on that's like in love with the idea of love, or like actually really finding love. And I think a lot of people are in love with the idea of love, and they'll idealize a person or a relationship. Or
that's why I like shut my heart down, because it's like I've been actively pushing myself not to open up, and like just to kind of just not, because I realized that like I really love the idea of companionship and being intimate, and then actually like opening up to somebody, it was really bittersweet. It's like, wow, I guess I didn't really want this like I thought I do,
Right.
But
until the Gemini kicks in, and then you're like, and I'm out.
that used to happen in high school so much. Like I would ask a woman out or ask a girl out, and she said yes, and then the Gemini kicks in, and I break up with her, and it's like,
it's the Moon Pluto stuff too, though, right. Or the Venus Pluto stuff. I mean, I think
a lot of Peter Pan stuff.
I think it's good that you're acknowledging it, and I think that you're gonna learn that it's just gonna take work. If this is what you want, right, yeah. That it's going to take work, and it's a process, and it's not easy, and you're learning not to just bail when things get challenging, and you're also learning not to even enter into some of those inner encounters when you become more aware of the flags.
Challenging. I would just, and this was like back in high school, but like I would just realize, oh shit, I asked her this for the wrong reason. Like It's weird, but that would be whenever I rushed it versus being with someone who I really wanted to be with. Like I've never really, yeah. But I mean, that's what's up. This is a really great outcome. So,
well, Venus in the 12th house, like I said, you've got some good transits that are coming with the node moving there over the next couple of years, and maybe finding a soulmate in a foreign land. You know,
I keep hearing that I might be moving or whatnot.
Yeah, you might.
Holy crap! That's okay. That's what's up.
I'm excited to see what happens. Yeah. Well, thanks for having this chat with me. This has been really fun. I'm glad we got to chat a little bit more about our relationship with tarot and share with you guys on the interwebs how we go about
discerning these cards and enjoying this adventure.
And if you guys want to book a reading with us, you can do so by checking out our personal pages or our websites or our channel. This is the channel that we have for the Midheaven that we do together. But Mike has the Peace Dealer. I have Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. We both have those handles also on our social media. You can find us mostly on Instagram or on Facebook. And I just recently went back to doing my live, so I'm excited about that. Nice. And I am in the process of working on some courses that I'm doing for you guys and putting that together so I can start doing a beginner's astrology course and hopefully a beginner's tarot course. So more is coming from that. But if you want to book readings with us, check us out. You have questions, comments, please leave it below and hit that subscribe button if you don't mind so you can be notified when these come out. Now they're coming out weekly, so we're doing pretty good.
Beautiful. Yes, we are. And we really appreciate the love, the feedback. We've gotten a lot of glowing love and just
support. I've heard so much, like even with clients and stuff. I get on a call and people are telling me that they love the podcast, which is awesome because it's definitely very different than anything I've done before, and you too. And also guys, if you don't mind, like anytime you have an opportunity, if you're listening to us on iTunes or on Apple, please do go and give us a review. If you can give us a couple stars, hopefully all of the stars, we'll see. It's really helpful for getting the podcast out there and getting more views. So we appreciate that.
And until next time, y'all, stay blessed as always.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon. Take care.